and colleagues. Welcome to the press conference on the joint communique between China and Cotton IV on cotton cooperation within the WTO framework. Let me first introduce the distinguished guests to this conference. His Excellency Mr. Hucheng Gao, Minister of Commerce of China. His Excellency Mr. Abdurrahim Hamid, Minister of Commerce of Industry of Chad. His Excellency Mr. Prosper Vakuma, Ambassador of Burkina Faso to the WTO. His Excellency Mr. Sarafin Lisasi, Ambassador of Benin to the WTO. Mr. Sheikh Omar Kamara, Representative of Ambassador of Mali to the WTO. And in particular, we are extremely honored to present His Excellency Mr. Roberto Avezodo, Director General of the World Trade Organization. Let's warmly welcome their attendance. To kick off this event, I will first invite Minister Hucheng Gao to make his opening remarks.
Mr. Minister, Mr. Director General, Ambassadors, dear colleagues. It is a great pleasure for me to have this opportunity to declare, together with the ministers of the C4, representatives of the cotton-producing countries of Africa, at the 9th Ministerial Conference to present this joint press communique between the Ministry of Trade of the People's Republic of China and the Ministries of the Trade of the Cotton for countries in the area of the cotton framework, the WTO. Since the beginning of the Doha round, the Chinese have always insisted on the need there was to give priority to solving the problems concerning the developing members of the WTO, and in particular the least developed country members. The Chinese fully support the requests put forward by the C4 and have been working actively to solve the cotton problem. The 14th of December 2011, the Chinese Ministry of Trade and the C4 jointly declared the press communique on cooperation in cotton industry under the WTO framework. And since, thanks to an economic and technical assistance program put forward by the Chinese government, which amounts to $20 billion, Chinese experts have carried out technical visits to Africa and have established a 3-yearly cooperation program. Thanks to the setting up of the platform of demonstration and technology for cotton, the supplying of agricultural equipment, the training of staff and technical assistance, so that China has helped the C4 to promote cotton growing by helping the cotton-producing countries in enhancing the selected seeds and enhance the transfer of know-how so as to strengthen their capacity in cotton growing, transformation and trading in cotton. And all these efforts, cooperation efforts, have borne their fruit. China is ready to give even greater aid and to extend its cooperation with the C4. The total amount of aid given by the Chinese government to the C4 will reach 700 million yuan, renminbi, and the projects relating to cotton will be given priority. China is seeking to diversify the working methods in agreement with the C4 and will take measures in 6 areas so as to develop further our cooperation, that is, infrastructure, production equipment, technical training, scientific research, trade and cooperation between cotton companies. China wishes to enhance the C4's capacity in the area of cotton and would also enhance their capacity going from production to trading through processing and logistics so as to make our cooperation with the C4 a new model of South-South cooperation. China wishes to thank the Director General of the WTO, Mr. Azevedo, and the Secretariat for their tireless efforts to solve the LDC problems, and will continue, as always, to support the work of the Secretariat under the leadership of Mr. Azevedo in this area. China calls on joint efforts by members so as to solve these problems as soon as possible, so as to reach a general Doha agreement and to ensure our common development, and this as soon as possible. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister Gao. Now let me give the floor to His Excellency Mr. Abdelrahim Barimi Hamid, Minister of Commerce and Industry of Chad, to deliver his remark on behalf of Cotton 4.
Thank you very much. Mr. Director General of the WTO, Mr. Minister of Commerce of China, ladies and gentlemen, ambassadors, ladies and gentlemen. It is with great pleasure that on behalf of the members of the Cotton Sectoral Initiative, known as the C4, I am taking part in this very important ceremony, which celebrates fruitful work between our countries and the People's Republic of China. In 2011 already, and on the sidelines of the previous ministerial conference of the WTO held in Geneva, we agreed with the delegation of the Republic of China, we agreed to strengthen cooperation in the area of the cotton sector development. Our meeting today is just a follow-up of this expression of solidarity which started back in 2011. Indeed, we agreed to step up and strengthen in 2014 our program regarding our cotton growing project and trade, processing and production in cotton, including capacity building of cotton growers, and also the setting up of the necessary infrastructure. To do so, a financial envelope of $20 million has been made available by our Chinese partner to the C4. So I think this is a speaking example of South-South cooperation. And we are paying tribute to this today, and we do hope that this will continue and will also make others want to do likewise. And Mr. Minister, I would like to say that it is absolutely essential to apply the duty-free, quota-free principle, because such a principle would help us enhance our intervention capacity in the cotton sector and would also help cotton growers back home. And this would maybe help us to have fewer victims. Thank you very much, Minister. Thank you very much, Director General. Thank you all for your kind attention.
Thank you, Mr. Hamid. Last but not least, I take the honor to invite the Director General Azevedo to make his remark on this special occasion. We are all aware that the Director General himself has made tremendous contribution to address the concerns of cotton fall within the WTO framework. Let's welcome Director General Mr. Azevedo.
Well, thank you very much. Thank Minister Gao, Mr. Abderrahim, Ambassador Vukuma, Disasi, Consular Camara, ladies and gentlemen. Cotton is an issue which is very dear to my heart. I dedicated a part of my life to the cotton cause, and I'm happy to see that that was not a fight in vain. In fact, the cotton issue and the cotton discussions in the WTO have multiplied, fructified, and I believe that we are now before an issue which every single WTO member understands and believes that that is an issue that we need a solution for. It is a particular pleasure to be here with you today, this afternoon, to welcome this announcement of the cotton-related assistance by China. Indeed, we are here to welcome the joint communique by China and the C4 countries on cooperation in the cotton sector. And cotton production is, of course, of vital importance to a number of developing economies in the world, and in particular, the least developed countries. And this is why this cotton initiative launched by the C4 in the context of the WTO Doha Development Agenda is of critical importance in both its trade and the development components, on both of them. And it is no coincidence, actually, that the Bali package of texts include a text on cotton which covers both of these components. They covers trade and development. And I must pay tribute in this regard to the untiring efforts of the C4 in Geneva, led by Ambassador Vukuma of Burkina Faso and his colleagues from the Cotton Forum. The text on cotton, negotiated in advance of this ministerial conference, constitutes a renewed push for negotiations and strongly reaffirms the principles and objectives of the cotton issue. It enhances transparency and monitoring. It reaffirms the importance of development assistance. And I sincerely hope that in the context of a successful MC9, this decision can be adopted together with the other negotiated texts. Coming more specifically to the development component of the Cotton Initiative, it is fair to say that unlike in the trade component, concrete results have been achieved in the last few years. And this is clearly reflected in the work of the DG's Consultative Framework Mechanism on Cotton, which reviews cotton-specific assistance, as well as infrastructure support programs and other assistance related to the cotton sector. China actively participated in this effort, in particular with the implementation of its $20 million technical assistance program, as announced in December 2011 in the margins of the previous WTO ministerial meeting. And today's joint communique is excellent news. It reaffirms the intention of China to pursue and amplify this cooperation program in areas like infrastructure building, provisions of equipment, training, or research. And as we all know, cooperation and technical assistance require time, requires patience. And this is why commitments by providers of assistance to make continuous and enhanced efforts like this one made today by China are critical, a critical condition of success. And I would therefore like once again to commend China for this welcome announcement. And I hope that this week in Geneva will keep bringing good news such as this one. So thank you very much. Not in Geneva, in Bali. Sorry.
Thank you very much, Director General, for your positive and warm remarks. Before I open the floor for question, I'd like to remind the friends from the media that as there is a dedicated session on the general matters of MC9 half an hour ago, I suggest the questions will be focused on the topics of this conference. Now the floor is open. I identify the lady in the front. Please identify yourself first.
I'm from Xinhua News Agency of China. 高部长，首先呢，
Thank you very much for your statement. You have just mentioned China's assistance to cotton fall countries. Could you give us more details about to the on the assistance China provides to cotton fall countries?
recovery of the world economy, what do you think that South-South cooperation will be helpful on the issues of development, which is one of the three main pillars of the WTO? Thank you very much.
Thank you for your question. Actually, I have mentioned some details. We have mentioned that's our first phase cooperation. And from the joint press communique, we are move one step further in promoting the capacity of cotton fall countries in production, processing, transportation, and human resources training. Moreover, on the basis of our past success, we will explore new ways of cooperation, and we will provide more financial assistance to related African countries. We have already worked well in some areas, and I also mentioned some new areas for cooperation. For example, processing, sales. In these two areas, we will strengthen our cooperation with Africans. And in the first phase cooperation, we have come to realize that it is important to help African countries to select the right seas, and there are greater potentials in this area for further cooperation between China and the African countries. So this will be an important part, selecting high-quality seeds in production. At the same time, we will intensify our efforts in human resources training, those professionals in production, in sales, and it is important, particularly to provide training to technicians. We will further step up our efforts in helping African countries in production so that they can pursue higher economic growth rate, and I think it is a good example of South-South cooperation. Thank you.
I identify the lady in the second row. Oh. Sorry, Mr. Director General, I do not intend to deprive the right for you to speak.
Yeah, I've been speaking a lot lately, but let me tell you, I was struggling with the phone, with the mic in the beginning, so I heard you ask about South-South cooperation and the future work of the WTO. I suppose that's the question that was put to me, right? Yes, okay. Yeah, that's what I thought I heard. But anyway, look, cooperation in the WTO is not a new feature. We have developed a number of initiatives in the WTO for cooperation with developing countries, in particular the least developed countries. You know, the Aid for Trade initiative, you know, the enhanced integrated framework also, which have been delivering pretty good results actually. And we have always managed to raise resources coming from the traditional donors, particularly the developed countries that have been providing assistance. But I think a very welcome development is that now you see developing countries, of course, that declare themselves in a position to do so, that are now joining the club of members who can provide technical assistance. As Minister Gao mentioned just now, in a somewhat different approach, which is the type of cooperation which now is being dubbed as South-South cooperation, which is the type of cooperation which is a lot more linked to elements of solidarity and elements of joint cooperation, joint efforts. Often these projects and these assistance, this kind of assistance which is provided by the developing countries to developing countries is often of mutual benefit. They learn from each other. And that's a very important key aspect of this kind of assistance. I think it's a new development. It is a very welcome development for relations internationally, and in the WTO relations among members who benefit immensely with this new type of cooperation.
Thank you, Mr. Director General. I identify the lady in the second row. Please identify yourself.
Thank you. From China Central Television Station, my first question goes to Minister Gao. In providing assistance to Cotton 4 countries, it is part of China's Aid for Trade. So what efforts China has made in this regard, and what more measures China will adopt in the future? You are right. Indeed, China's cooperation with Cotton 4 countries is conducted within the WTO framework of Aid for Trade. And over the years, we have enjoyed the support from the Director General and the Secretariat. Now, the second phase cooperation will start very soon, and I have mentioned that we will work together in a few areas. It will continue to be conducted under the WTO framework. And we also work together with the WTO Secretariat in other areas with a number of initiatives. For example, we have a specific human resources training program for developing countries, and we help staff from developing countries in international organizations to help those staff members improve their capacity, and we also will work together with Secretariat in other areas in the future. So China is a developing country, but with the support from the Secretariat, we are now an active player in providing assistance. For example, in the Aid for Trade initiative, in particular, we give priority to assistance provided to the least developed countries. We are confident that more cooperation will happen in the future between China and WTO. Thank you.
Please, the second row, please. As I guess he's from the African. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. With what we've just heard from China, I think that South-South cooperation is something where we now see before us a very good example. This does also lead us to ask some questions. Chinese presence in our countries does give rise to debate. What you've just done, the commitments that you've just made, is this philanthropy? And does it stop there? Is it just philanthropy? Because what we say is you don't get anything for nothing. I don't know if that translates well. It's a French expression.
Je suis.
I'm a journalist from Burkina Faso. I have a second part to my question. I can see my ambassador. We, in our country, and alongside with Chinese Taipei, I don't know what type of cooperation is going to be set up. I don't know how that assistance is going to be brought to our country.
Donc, moi,
Despite the fact that the question was not asked outright, I should say that the world is made up of interests. You're here, present today, and you can see that there are interests, different interests being represented. And in cooperation issues, there are always interests. I would say there are beneficiaries and beneficiaries. I'm not going to say win-win situations, beneficiaries and beneficiaries. And philanthropy, perhaps that's something that you can define as something coming from private citizens. But between states, we all have our interests. Now, the second part of your question, I'm going to step in and say that as far as this particular issue is concerned, we're talking about trade and not politics. Therefore, Chinese Taipei does have cooperation, trade cooperation with China. If we're looking at a state with political relations, nothing should hinder the fact that there may be cooperation on a trade level amongst states. And I think that there are great states, powerful states, who also have trade relations with Chinese Taipei, just as they have diplomatic relations with China. I hope that I have brought a part of an answer to your question before I give the microphone over to the Minister for Trade to respond. Thank you.
I guess as Minister Hamid already addressed the second part of the question from the audience, I understand there are still more questions coming from the floor, but as the ministers, ambassadors, and the Director General do have a tight schedule during the MC9, and we need to allow them to have more time to deal with important issues that is pending before us. So we can take no more questions. Please join me to give a round of applause to our distinguished guests on the floor, on the podium, and the press conference is over. Thank you for your participation and your attention. Thank you.